I love this set. We don't look like we're in a dentist office anymore. We look like we're in a library, but it is a massive upgrade.
I know. We honestly got lazy, and your room is so depressing, it's not even funny.
We didn't get lazy. I thought it was so cool. And then the more we posted reels, the more I thought, gosh, this looks awfully clinical.
Guys, welcome back to Are You Okay? Episode 8.
Season 2. Just kidding.
No, not yet, but it's been almost 2 months. When is the last time we recorded? It had to have been like...
Before my Zoloft kicked in.
You had just started on the antidepressants.
And I've been on them a hot minute.
Do you know how long you've been on them? No. So they're clearly working.
2 different size pills, though, so long enough.
Long enough, she's up 2 doses. Okay, but also, I was getting sick last episode. I remember saying, like, I think I'm coming down with something. And I ended up getting very sick. And that was before my trip to Seattle, which was mid-May.
Before Mom visiting.
What?
It's been a while. Before Phil graduated, which was middle May.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because Seattle was middle May. And we did that episode before Seattle, and I was getting sick. And I was sick for 2 weeks. I got laryngitis. I literally couldn't talk. It was fantastic. I had to go to urgent care, which I haven't had to do in like 6 years. And they gave me meds and things. And then you got sick, but at a different period. Guys, a lot has happened in the last couple of months. Anyway, I'm Claire, your host, with my sister, Bridget, co-host. Don't clank the mics. Let's talk. Let's chat.
Talk. I've had so many things I've wanted to talk about, and they might not be relevant anymore, but I even had to start a pod note because...
That's really cute. Put the mic by your mouth.
It took us so long to do this. Well, I got engaged.
That is crazy. I'm so glad you're willing to talk about it. I didn't know if we were going to have to take the ring off and act like it didn't happen.
I love you. I thought about that at first because...
I know.
You know.
Privacy, you know.
Yeah, but I'm just so happy that there's no reason to hide my joy.
I know. I'm happy for you.
Okay, I wanted to talk about cowardice and courage and crazy.
Okay,
we were on a
wait,
big
slow
kick.
down.
Well, you said, what are we talking about?
We haven't talked to these people in 2 months. There's...
It's not like they can talk back.
Yeah, but they probably want to know, where have you been? You got a new job. You got engaged. Let's cheers to that. What are you drinking?
Okay. Oh, yeah, we got to do what we're drinking. Sorry.
Yes.
I'm really out of season.
You are.
Claire picked these up. Okay, first of all,
I don't know what to do with my lap because I'm wearing shorts.
Just do what I'm doing with the pillow, and then it covers your cellulite.
Okay.
Claire, a couple weeks ago, we were supposed to podcast, and she picked up these, I don't even know if you can call them juice. They look like the stuff that you put in your car for the windshield wipers. Where did you even get them?
Ugh, this was so long ago, but I walked into Food Lion, and when you first turn to the right, there's like this summer shelf. And it's just a grocery store, but the summer shelf, they've got it like out in the open right up front. And it gets me every time. It used to get me as a kid. I always left with like footballs or bubbles or a boogie board. But they didn't have that fun stuff at the store. They just had like all these fun juices and like firecrackers. And so I bought 4 bottles of...
No, they're like little barrels.
Yeah, they're called Big Hugs. I think at one point they were called Big Jugs. That's just a guess because the bottle looks like a barrel or a jug.
They had to rename it.
I think they had to rename it from Big Jug to Big Hug, but that was just a guess. Anyway, they were going to be our drink, our podcast drink.
I gave one to Phil because I just couldn't stomach it.
I had one sip the other night because I was just dying of dehydration. It was disgusting.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So instead, she picked up Sam Adams.
Sam Adams.
This is my second. Sam Adams, Just the Haze, non-alcoholic IPA. I was not really a big IPA girl back in my alcoholic beverage days.
Me neither. Why would we drink these? Why would anyone pick an IPA?
Well, some people love them, and I love sours, which are different enough from an IPA. But these are so flavorful, and I think they did such a good job with them. If you're thirsty, they're really yummy. They have enough of the citrus in them without the kick of the alcohol, which might be why IPAs are just kind of too much, because you have the citrus, which has a kick, and then you also have the burn of the alcohol, which I do miss that. But I don't know. They did a good job. They're really yummy.
Indian Pale Ale. That's what that stands for, IPA. And I think they're absolutely nasty.
This one?
But not this one.
Oh.
Because there's no alcohol in it.
Claire, every single drink we've tried, you don't like the real version and you love the juice.
That's what happens when you turn 30. I'm kidding.
Okay, so what would you score this?
This is good. The haze is actually, you can like feel the haze. It's got like a very frothy kind of, what is it called? The foam? It's actually called Head. Anyway. It's really good. It's really summery. Fun fact about Sam Adams. It's a New England brewing company. This is Sam Adams. Everything Sam Adams is very, very popular, at least in our family. Like my grandpa, my uncle, my mom, like we were raised watching them drink all the fun Sam
Especially
Adams.
summertime.
Yeah, especially in the summer, but they have obviously all the seasonal ones. So I bet you money they've already got the alcohol version of this like in his garage fridge.
Fridge with the haze.
What is
Summer ladder.
What is happening to us? Anyway, when I first had Sam Adams, when I first started drinking, I was upset that I didn't like them because my palate was real weak when I first started drinking. I had to drink like.
What do you think it is now?
Excuse me. Okay, I like Sam Adams now, but when I first started drinking, when I was like a baby, like when I was early drinking days. Anyway, this is really good. I'm enjoying this. 8, 7, 8, something like that. I don't know.
Wow. I'd say a 6.5. Okay, so what should do we need to update them? What?
Oh, well, just cheers to your engagement.
Thank you. I'm very, very happy. He's the greatest person.
We had so much fun this past weekend. We did their engagement photos.
Claire was so good at it. I like that they were a little wild. They were so natural because we just have a good time and you're just so easy. I feel like I just hate posed and like stiff pictures, and we both, Phil and I, do horribly with that type of a environment. We just look really bad in that kind of a picture because we're just trying too hard.
Yeah.
So the ones where we're just kind of like having a good time and you just click the camera a bajillion times, you know, it's just easier. But
It was fun, and we had an hour before the sunset, so we had to move like really quickly. And we live, it's so beautiful here, and so we live by old battlefield. Actually, it's where the Revolutionary War ended, where we became completely and fully the United States of America. It's very historic. It's beautiful. So we were there for about 30 minutes. There are deer everywhere. It's just very beautiful. It's these like, what is it? Is it wheat? What is it? What are the grass? Anyway, tall grass. It wouldn't be wheat.
something that deer likes to eat.
Tall grass. I got a tick. Anyway, and then we drove to the ocean, which was like 3 minutes away, which is also really, really beautiful. And they wanted photos in the water. If you haven't gone and checked them out. And
I did. I don't think Phil did.
Okay, Bridget wanted pictures in the water.
He's just a good sport.
And then we live by this really sweet beach, and there's like a little private cove we always go to. Anyway, if you want to go check them out, they're on Bridget's Instagram, if she hasn't blocked you. And you still have access to Bridget's Instagram. They're over there. And I'm going to post some of them on my little business page, my little portfolio, my little Instagram portfolio. Aww. But yeah, we had fun. And Bridget I took the pictures, and then Bridget did the edits, which is actually a really impressive thing. Wow. So what else? I guess that's pretty much it.
I wanted to talk about courage, because I think we've hit on themes of this throughout the podcast.
I feel like I've edited so many of our episodes where you start by saying, well, I want to talk about courage.
And then we don't actually talk about it. But I took notes. And so I just think it's such an important topic. And we think courage and we think war movies. We think these really big, heady topics. But I would say pandemic in our culture, one of the greatest issues we're seeing is a lack of people being courageous. And I'm not saying out in the public arena, but I mean that either. But day to day, like in our homes and in our lives. And when you see someone doing it, it's just so inspiring and it's so helpful. And so, I don't know, I just think it's an important topic, which on that note, I want to give a shout out to our friend Carl, who's 5+ months sober, which is freaking awesome. It's just so impressive. And people don't realize, but like that kind of stuff helps me so much. Like other people getting well and choosing sobriety or choosing wellness, even if it's something, you know, not related to addiction, it's so helpful. And this is why I think courage is massive, because there's power in numbers, and we're communal beings, and you really do feed off of your circle.
Right.
We have definitely said this before, but this is what I wanted to hit on that we haven't hit on well. We've been watching, which we have hit on this, but we've been watching a lot of shows. We kind of ran out of them, but we were watching several different Holocaust shows, which were brutal. One of them was super brutal. It was about the tattooist of Auschwitz. Did we talk about this yet?
I don't think so.
No, I think we watched this a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, obviously brutal. It takes place in the camp, based on a true story, based on a book. That was a true story. Anyway, what I have found just incredible in these shows we've watched, and we've watched a few of them kind of back to back, binging them, is that compliance is what killed these people. And I think we're kind of hardwired as a society, maybe less now than we used to be, but there's this hardwired, like, you do what everybody else is doing and it keeps you out of trouble, keep your head low and you won't get in trouble. And obviously the Holocaust is an incredibly extreme example, but going along with the rules and what they were being told to do, whether they were Jews or just the occupied countries, it got people killed, and it got them killed by the thousands and thousands. And so I don't know, it just kind of woke me up to this idea in our day today that you can't just go along to get along, because it will get you in trouble. It will get other people really hurt. And it makes it easier if everyone else is just following in line. It makes it so much easier for the crazy people or the compliant people to just pick off the courageous one by one, unless more people are saying, no, this is not how we're going to do it. And then they're rising up and choosing an alternative.
Right, right.
Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. I mean, when we were watching these shows, and obviously the first one was about Anne Frank, which is obviously historically accurate. And then this one was the tattooist of Auschwitz, which was also based on the book, and that was also historically accurate. So, and we know World War II and the
Actually,
history.
all three were. The other one was.
What was the other one
We
we
Were the
watched?
Lucky Ones. That's based on a true family. A Jewish family that survived.
I liked that one a lot, actually. I liked them all.
Yeah.
As much as you can like that, but they were done well, and like the stories are really incredible. And obviously we know the history of World War II, but you watch these shows and it all comes to life. You know, a textbook can only tell you so much. So then you watch these shows and it's all of a sudden it's like three-dimensionalized, and it's a show. So there's the safety of you being on your couch with a bowl of ice cream, and you're watching like the most horrific things you could ever imagine happen. And you can't say, oh, this is a horror movie. Like, I think I said to you a few times while we were watching these shows, like, this feels fake. This feels like this was a creative pursuit, and this was like some sort of horror film, because the atrocities going on felt like seriously like impossible.
Yeah.
But they were real. And so what was scary the most, I think I said this a number of times as well while we were watching, was how the fuck does this many people let this kind of shit happen, right? Because you have you had a lot of occupied countries. They were going after the Jews, but they were also going after the Gypsies. They were going after, and it was just sort of like, the horrors were these people were like, had bakeries and businesses and homes, and all of a sudden they're being absolutely like
brutalized.
It was insane to me. So it's like, this isn't like you were already in a little camp and then someone came to the camp and just like utterly and completely made it super strict and super scary. It was like, no, you were like trained off to these places and shot randomly and pulled from your homes and your business. Like, I'm sorry. It feels so fake. That's how insane it all was to me.
I know.
And the people who survived, a lot of the people who survived, at least from these historic, heroic stories, were people who were like, fuck this. Yes. And they went against the grain, and they hid, and they fought, and they had fake papers, and they were brave beyond explanation, and that is the only reason why they kept breathing.
Yes. No, 100%. You just said it way better than I did. Like, they didn't just go along with the rules. I mean, the We Were the Lucky Ones, which is that family, it's based on a true story, Jewish family, bunch of siblings, parents, they all get separated pretty much because they're all in different places when the occupation begins. I think they're in Poland. And then all of them, without knowing if everybody else is alive, just were so brave. And they said, we're not doing this. They fought back. They had to be smart. And that's something I've kind of had to learn the hard way. It's like, you can't just be a bully. You know, you lose your argument.
Not a bully in like a mean way, but you're brazen sometimes.
Yes, brazen.
Without like...
You have to be calculated, or you're going to just get shot. And then, okay, like maybe you're free because you were running, but you didn't think it through. You weren't clever. Like, you have to be so clever and creative. But what I felt more watching this show, beyond just the heroism of the people that survived and helped other people survive, was, what if everyone had done this? Like, what if everybody had found the balls to fight back? Or better yet, what if the occupied nations, not being put in camps, had risen up? And there were uprisings. There were obviously the underground, like there were freedom fighters, so many brave people, and I'm not discrediting them, but these crazy, psychotic people, and whether that's in a country or in a family, they're not the majority. And we've seen this, like, very often there's a couple of them, and the rest of us are just too polite or too afraid to say, you know what, not today, like, not on my watch. And if we could, if more of us did, even if half of us did, I really believe history would be so different. The history of the world, the history of families, like, if more people just said no. And we've seen so many times when someone does, unless they have other people helping them, they just get ostracized. You're crazy. Everybody can villainize the person speaking the truth unless they have other people standing beside them saying, no, she's right or he's right.
I mean, a couple people putting their heads together in the early days of Hitler rising to power could have been like, oh man, this dude is absolutely psychotic. Like I said to you one time watching the show, why didn't someone just fucking kill him?
They tried to.
They tried, right. I mean, a lot of the people in the camps just thought, if we keep doing what they ask us to do,
They'll let us go.
They'll let us go. So, and that's a kind of, I can see where that's like an objective thing. Like that's an A to B. It's a very linear thought pattern. Like, okay, if we keep working, which is why we're here, labor, they'll let us go. So we're going to do all the right things. And there were so many people who I think were like really straight edged while in these camps because they just thought that was the exchange, which is heartbreaking. But then you have the people who were like stealing stuff. You had the camp members who were like stealing chocolate and stealing jewels and trading the jewels for chocolate and and you slowly start to build this internal team of people who are going against the grain, and oftentimes they're the ones that made it out. So you can't always be like, I think there were people under, I'm using Hitler a lot because we've talked about Germany and all that, but like he got to a very, very, very powerful place. A lot of people turned their eye and said, well, if we just do what he tells us to do, and if we just do what this organization says, and if we just wear this armband, and if we just, salute him, and if we just, smile and nod, comply, and it's like, this was such a horrifying person who became exceedingly powerful because too many people said A to B. Keep doing what you're supposed to do and somehow you'll survive. It's like evil people don't give a fuck about A to B.
No.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, we've seen it much, much, much smaller scale in businesses, in our family. Like, I mean, I remember at the news station I worked at, there were tons of people who agreed with me about there being a security concern. I felt that we were not safe if someone had wanted to come in and do harm. We're all sitting in this one room right near the entrance. Anybody can get in. I could push the door open, we all had fobs, but as a 5'7" girl could literally push the door open without my fob. 40 of us at any given time sitting in this room. And I had prayed about it and talked to my therapist about it because I can be a little paranoid. So she said, if anything happens or someone else says something about it, take that as your sign and go bring up your concern. So literally that week, this homeless man at 5 a.m, it's still dark. He jumps out from behind his stairs. He didn't touch me, but he said he had a suitcase that was halfway between him and me. And he said, I've got nanonites and a story to tell. And he was holding his hands out. And I have no idea what nanonites are. I didn't then. I think it's like a robot that invades your brain. I don't know. Regardless, it scared the shit out of me. We had nobody there. Night security had already left. So literally one of my friends, a coworker, went outside with a bat because one of our producers had shown up, had no idea what was going on. And so she had a bat to defend our coworker in case this guy did anything. Ridiculous. So we're all talking about it. It's all the scuttle. Everyone else is stressed about it. I mean, at least 10 other people were like, oh my gosh, we have to do something about this. And I was worried, not about the homeless, but about an active shooter because it was a pretty controversial news station and we had some hot takes that I didn't even agree with. They were so extreme. So I was just worried. And my friends were in this room and I don't want to die. I don't want them to die. Anyway, this is a long story that I'm trying to make short, but
no, it's okay. It's a good story.
I remember one of the main anchors, and it's just such a slimy industry. She literally had tears in her eyes, like begging me. She was in the makeup room, and I had gone in to tell the makeup guy, who was my friend, what was going on. Like, I got to go tell whatever. And she's begging me, like, please, Bridget, you have to go to the owner and tell him, like, we need better security. Literally a tear in her eye. So I was like, bet. Like, I already thought I should. I go to him. It is taken horribly. No one really cared. This is the thing. So at first, no one really cared. I didn't hear anything else about it. Then another anchor had a stalker that we all got an email about keeping out of the building. It was our job to keep this crazy fucking looking stalker. It was our job to keep him out of the building. So I followed up on my email concern. I never went to him.
With the homeless man.
Guy. I sent an email with the homeless guy. So I sent a follow-up email after the stalker situation thing, and I was like, hey, just wanted to follow up if you were taking any new security concerns. My concerns are during the day. I know we have a night security guard, but what are we doing to protect our staff during the day? I'm called into HR and gaslit and told that there hasn't been an incident in the 12 years that HR has been there. So this one HR lady, so why are you concerned now? blah, blah, blah. And I just said, I'm not going to defend why I'm concerned. I am concerned, and we have reason to be. This homeless man proved ease of access. There's a stalker we're all supposed to keep out of the building. And she said, well, where are all these other people you said are concerned? And I was like, that's a great question. Like, I wish they were coming in these rooms with me. And I just realized in that moment, like, yeah, I'm kind of in this alone. Like, everybody's brave when they're not actually, when they're preaching to the choir. So anyway, I got called up to the owner's office. He told me if I wanted to go work somewhere where I was followed by security guards, I needed to find somewhere else to work, which is not what I had said. The whole thing got so blown out of hand, I started getting pulled from air opportunities. There was like very obvious retaliation. But before I had gone to the owner, this other anchor with tears in her eyes had said, please, Bridget, please, like, you need to raise a concern. I had raised the initial concern. When I went back to her after all this shit happened and was talking about it, she still wanted me to do something about it. She wanted me to go with a bunch of the social media girls who were in my corner and a lot ballsier than everybody else in the room and raise the concern. And she said, verbatim, I would go with you, but I'm not really worried about security here anymore. And I just remember like walking away like, oh my fucking gosh, like, because they had all seen how it had affected me and the price I paid for speaking up. It's a long story, and that was very choppy. But the ultimate theme is that if you go into something alone, you're screwed. And it happened a second time. There was a harassment incident in the newsroom where I stood up for a girl that was very obviously being harassed by a talk show host, and she didn't file a harassment claim, but I did. And so I was completely invalidated. They're like, well, why are you filing? Which I had also been harassed after I stepped in. But I don't know. It's just, it goes to show you that if you stand alone, and I ended up leaving. I was like, this place is so freaking toxic. Like, if enough of us had done something, I don't know what would have been different, but you can't take everyone off the air. And what I have found fascinating is really the power in numbers and the ability for the crazy people and the compliant people to really take over if people aren't courageous in numbers. But even if you stand alone, fight, and at the graduation for Phil, the president spoke, Dr. O'Donnell, and I don't know if this story is true, but he told this story about these two soldiers who were friends, and it must have been World War I because they were trenches, and there was they all rushed, and there was a horrible siege, and everybody gets plowed down, and so the second rush was canceled, and the rest of them are all in this ditch, and the soldier has watched his friend go down. He's supposed to be the second wave, but they're not going to do the second wave anymore because it's suicide. And his commander says, nobody go out. And he can see that his friend is still alive, and he disobeys, and he runs out, and he gets his friend and throws him over his shoulder and is running back to the trench, and sure enough, he gets shot several times, and they both fall into the trench, and the soldiers that he went to go save is dead, and he's dying, and his commander has tears in his eyes, and he's like, why did you do that? I told you not to do that. What a waste. He was already dead, and now you're dead. We've lost another good soldier. And the soldier that's dying said, it wasn't a waste. When I got there, he was still alive, and he said, I knew you would come get me. I know, I was sitting there crying at the ceremony, and Phil just sent me a little heart because I was like sitting there, the lady next to me like gave me a tissue. And again, I don't know if it's true, but then at the end of his speech, Dr. O'Donnell said, do not be afraid to waste your life. Like, give your life. And there's more to that than courage. Obviously, it takes great courage, but there's a level of selflessness.
I think my one thing I would say is, going back to your job, it hasn't always served us. And I think one of our first podcasts, we talked about this. It hasn't always served us in the sense that like we've gone broke and like we've struggled and like we haven't been able to we don't always stick around places, because we're willing to lose certain things to do what's right or to stand up. Or, I got fired from a job because we were being mistreated, and it was just super obvious we were being mistreated, and everyone was so uncomfortable, and we were kind of being bullied, and I was like, nah, like, fire me, like, let me go, but I'm going to stand up for myself, and I'm going to stand up for my coworkers and my peers and my friends, and if that's what takes me out, that's what takes me out. I don't belong here anyway. If me following my gut and being true to myself is the death of me, well, then take me out. I'd rather fucking go.
And you're free. Well, it's kind of like the live free or die, the New Hampshire. It's live free or die, and then the follow-up to that is death is not the worst of evils.
Death is not the worst of evils. I love that. John Stark. Mm-hmm. Yeah. that's our, like, live free or die is our motto, which is really crazy. Live free or die, like, death is not the worst of evils. Like, we'd rather die going down, you know,
With freedom.
with freedom or standing up for yourself. And I think in that moment, like, at your job, you know, it wasn't the most prestigious news station ever. Not
crumbling.
You're right, falling to the bits as you were there even, but you know, you're in California, you're on air, like it's still a big deal. It's still, most people will never experience that or never have the courage to try or can't even imagine having the skill set. So it is elite to some regard that you were there. And it was a dream of yours. And to be able to just put that aside and kind of continue to like uphold your standards, your values, your boundaries, stand up for yourself, speak up. It's obvious that a lot of the people who were there maybe felt like their opportunity, there was no other chance. Yeah. But we're different because if it's not working with me being honest, then it's not good for me, right? So like,
well, it's not for us.
It's not for you,
even if
right?
You think, yeah, because it was a dream, and there were so many people there, and it was really hard to leave. I stayed way longer than I wanted to because there was an element of maybe this is just, I have to get through this to climb the ladder and get to the dream job. It also helped that I just was like, I hate the news. Like, I think there's power in journalism and there's power in communicating, and I loved doing interviews that felt impactful, but the news itself, I was like, this is not making the world better at all. So that helped aid in my decision to leave. But yeah, there were a lot of people there that were miserable, and they were sticking it out for pennies on the hour in a environment where they were not safe, where they were being mistreated, where it was so freaking slimy because they thought this was the dream. Like, they were going to be on TV.
And it feels once in a lifetime. Like, I got fired from the job. I did 10 months there. I wanted to leave like 4, 5, 6 months before, maybe not that many, but we were looking at probably about 4 to 5 months of like, should I quit? This is terrible. Before I actually got laid off / fired. I mean, I was pretty much fired, technically speaking. In the books, it was laid off. And I remember same thing. It was in the entertainment space-ish. You know, we were doing video production and photography, and we were at all these events, and it was like we were up and coming, we were moving, we were like in the know, and obviously out west when you're doing that kind of stuff, like you're like, I'm doing it, mom, like this is the fucking dream. So we held out longer than we probably even wanted to. I mean, it was, I forget I think it was months before I got let go. I was like, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to quit. This is horrible. I'm going to quit. And then it's like, well, the pay is really good. The experience is unique. This is never going to happen again. But anyway, we're babbling on about something we've probably already talked about. But like there's really, if you're having to compromise yourself to stay somewhere, it's not made for you. Like, why are you doing that to yourself?
No, and we've said this before. I think we said this the first episode, because we had a lot of trauma, frankly, early on in life. Our tolerance maybe now is lower than most people's, but to me, that was all I needed. It's like, okay, I didn't quit drinking alcohol, get out of a very, very toxic relationship, leave half my family who were not treating us well and not treating our family well. You know, I didn't get rid of all these things and take on these new things that were good so that I could go be mistreated at my job.
No.
Like, hell no. Sorry. Like, absolutely not. And I've come to a point, and I know I've been made the villain for this, certainly in friendships. I've lost tons of, I don't talk to any of my friends from high school. I have 3 friends, well, maybe 5 from college. Like, I've really had a zero tolerance going forward for dysfunction and toxicity and manipulation, because it's like, absolutely not. Like, maybe you think I'm savage and abortive, and I'm always asking myself, is this fair? You know, am I being too cut and dry? I have yet to regret a single person that I've walked away from in my life.
Yeah.
My life has become so much more peaceful since I've decided, like, no, that's not okay. I'm not dealing with that. Immediately after I left the job, I felt better. When I got out of my really toxic living situation in San Diego, like, the dogs were better. Like, they were more calm. I was like, holy shit, I didn't realize how oppressive where I lived was until I got out, and I was like, oh my gosh. I just felt like safe and free. Anyway, it's a bit of a tangent, but.
But I'm at a really good job now where, like, they're really fair, they're really kind, they're really communicative, they're really, like, good people, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, I'm like kind of shocked. I'm just like, I'm like, I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop. You know what I mean? And it's like, it hasn't yet. And I'm just like, they're flexible and I'm like, what is happening? Like this
isn't toxic as hell. What's wrong?
Everyone's super sweet and like encouraging and supportive and not just like as people, but like in a work environment. Like we're getting shit done, but it's still like a very like, I'm like, it is so possible to be true, to be good, to be honest, to be right. Like healthy, beautiful virtues and qualities can exist in this world and can build functional, healthy, successful relationships, businesses.
Better, frankly. They do so much better than the ones where everyone's dog eat dog.
Which I always thought about as a coach. I used to coach I used to coach kind of aggressively. Like I used to think that's how you should coach. Well, I didn't used to. I've had moments as a coach where I was like, I should be scary and mean because in high school our coach was scared the shit out of me. I mean, he was a gem and we got close, but like he was not warm and fuzzy, wasn't encouraging. I mean, I'd mess up and he'd be like, what the hell's going on out there? And I'm like shaking in my boots, like, and it only made it worse. I mean, imagine if he had come up to me and been like, you're crushing it. I don't know what's going on, but you need to take a deep breath and trust your instincts. No.
And bring your shoulders down 6 to 8 inches.
And stop hunching your shoulders up to your ears. But like he never did that. And so he'd be like, what? He'd be like, what the hell's going on out there? And I'd be like, I don't know. And then I'd be shaking in my boots. I'd be extra stressed. Then I'm sitting there going, I don't want to mess up. I really can't talk shit about him. I love him.
I had a crush on him, so I was totally dysfunctional.
Bridget was in love with him. I think Mary Grace was too, to be honest. I was the only one with like
issues. I wanted him to marry mom.
He was such a good soul. Like love him to this day. We've like gotten drinks. Like you still have a relationship with him, especially. But he was not encouraging. Anyway,
I don't think he was the best coach ever.
No, but I wanted to do well for him. Probably psychological brain issues, but I wanted to play really well for him. But when I started coaching college, I remember having moments where I was like, guys, get your shit together. And no one responded well to that at all.
I don't think women do at all. Well, men, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. And, well, I used to coach hockey, kids, like teenage hockey, when I was a personal trainer.
Oh, I was like, what?
I was their, like, conditioning coach, and I treated them. I was encouraging and very supportive, and that ended up actually working better. So that doesn't really prove the whole male-female point. But, because I was really tough on them at times. I mean, well, they were disrespectful as fuck. And I had a huge ass because I was, like, in the best shape of my life. And I think I was being sexually harassed.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure you were.
By these by these like middle school hockey players. But so sometimes I was like really tough on them. But for the most part, being angry and aggressive and rude, it didn't work for them. It didn't work for the college girls. And so I didn't do it. It didn't last long. That style of coaching didn't last long. First of all, it wasn't my style. I don't give a fuck enough to yell. But I give a fuck enough about you to like take care of you. And it's amazing like how much more you can get out of people when it's like love, support, encouragement, tough love, like honesty's huge. Like I'm not a nice person. I think nice is overrated and it's bullshit and
superficial.
It's fake as fuck, but I'm going to be a good person and I'm going to be like a supportive coach and a mentor. And the functionality of teams, it's amazing what that brings out of people. So I'm not sure where this spiral has absolutely come from.
Good. It's just good.
It's just so possible. And this is what I want to say before we start polishing and buffing our armor, making ourselves look all shiny and good. Would we have been the brave ones at these camps?
I don't know that I have. I would like to believe I had the self-control to be calculated and careful. I don't think I would have been careful enough to live. I would like to hope. It's just hard because your family's involved. So like, if it's just me, fucking kill me, and I will run until you shoot me. And I probably hope. Okay, this is so inappropriate.
But I'm gonna have to cut this whole episode out. I just feel like I'm screaming about. Like, I'm an amazing coach, and I would fight the Nazis.
I mean, we have no idea. I guess is the short answer. We can only hope and pray and cultivate in small moments the type of courage we would need. I know based on my personality, I probably would have gotten shot.
I would have been horrified for your
back.
Yes, I would have been horrified for your life. I would have been like, shut the fuck up. We need to think about this more strategically.
I wouldn't have thought well, and I don't think I would have made it to the end. But who knows? This feels so inappropriate to be talking about.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like, we're talking about being courageous at our jobs and standing up for ourselves and like.
Yeah, we have no idea.
We've never been placed in the harshity that was the German occupation and these
pray God
camps.
Never.
Yeah, so I think it's hard to even chat. Like, I feel like maybe I'm just saying this to sort of, because I'm getting self-conscious that we're like comparing ourselves. We're not.
No, we're not comparing.
I'm just saying like, I stood up to my boss once. It's like, I was
Right.
watching these shows wondering like, who would I have been?
Yeah, I have
And
no idea.
I felt like I probably would have been the person who thought A to B, do the right things and they'll let us go. And I don't know. I don't know.
It's a wild thought. I've often thought that about martyrdom because I've kind of romanticized the idea of being a martyr.
Bridget I have always romanticized the idea of being a martyr. For those of you who don't know, a martyr is someone who is killed because they stand up for their faith in God. Amazing. Beautiful. Actually, very saintly of you to romanticize
Quickest way
it.
to heaven, too. Like, I'm kind of a POS.
Since she's been 12, she's like, you know what? Don't really got to care too much about nothing because someday I'm going to get shot for being Catholic. She's like, I hope I die at 42, shot for being Catholic. Oh, I don't need to try that hard in college. I'm going to die at 42, shot for being Catholic. The amount of times my mom's been like, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, amen. Dear Heavenly Father, please spare my daughter from being martyred.
That was the maddest she's ever been. I remember we were in her room and she was making her bed. And I just said, I've just kind of always had a feeling I was going to die when I was 42 of martyrdom. And I think she told me to get out.
Yeah, the last thing a mother wants to hear is, I mean, in a way, it's actually very, who's growing up going, I hope I die for the faith. But I think you're just lazy as fuck.
Yeah, no, I don't,
and you're like,
it's
well,
not noble,
we got to get to heaven someday, don't we? I'm going to have a great fucking life. And then someday someone's going to say, do you believe in God? And I'm going to say, yes, I do.
I don't know. I just think it's so baller.
This podcast needs to end. Songbook or cinema?
Stand up so they can see that you're wearing pants.
I know, you guys. I've been wearing pants this whole time, I promise. Oh, stand up?
See, pants.
Pants. Wearing pants. Biker shorts. I didn't change after the gym. My Songbook or cinema is a show. It's Modern Family. Don't be rude. Don't be rude. Isn't that a Kardashian thing? Don't be rude. She like hits her with a purse. Okay. Modern Family. If I can be grateful for one thing, it's that we weren't allowed to watch TV growing up, because these shows that I binge now were shows that, like, if you were keeping up back in the day, you'd be watching them while we were like in high school. Because this Modern Family, I think, started airing in 2010, and then it ended in like 2021. I think there's 11 seasons, and I just discovered it. I think Peacock, which is NBC, right? They have the best shows. Like, that's where The Office is, Parks and Rec, Modern Family, like King of Queens, like all the shows I love to binge are on Peacock. So if you don't have it, go get it. But Modern Family's just funny. I love mindless TV. I love editing pictures and like it's on in the background, or like I watch it as I fall asleep. And so it's not like you have to like sit there and like watch it happen. You can be kind of like nonchalant about it and still kind of know the storyline. But sometimes I do watch it like as I fall asleep or whatever. So funny, lighthearted, kind of mindless. And it's just fun to find like these shows that like other people watched with like, oh my gosh, the next season's coming out, and I get to just like binge.
Even at 3 a.m.
Even at 3, 4 in the morning.
Coping.
Stop. She's been making fun of my laugh lately, and it's not really kind.
Because when you're on the podcast, you... Okay, I have to look mine up. It's Tyler Childers' Preacher's Been Drinking Again. It's called Bottles and Bibles. Phil and I just saw him.
Your personality is just, it's called Bottles and Bibles and Preachers, and we hate Kim Kardashian, and I'm gonna die a martyr, and I can't wait to die.
It's called Bottles and Bibles. It's a really sad song about an alcoholic preacher who succumbs to his alcoholism. And it's a long way to go on the straight and narrow.
Oh, that's clever. That is so good for everybody listening.
It's really... It's really sad, though. Made me cry the first time I heard it. I was ferociously cleaning a bathroom in San Diego.
Yeah, she used to clean Airbnbs in San Diego.
No, it was a home.
Oh, even worse. There was puke once.
That was an Airbnb.
Well, thank you for sharing that song.
Bottles and Bibles, Tyler Childers.
What was that Adele song we were singing earlier? That's a good one. The one about like, oh, you were...
When the rain
yes.
is blowing
It's actually not Adele.
your face.
She just made it famous.
Who is it? She did a cover.
And the whole world is on
I
your
think John Denver.
case. I will offer you a warm embrace to make you feel my love. Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening to episode 8 of Are You Okay? We are on Apple,
Apple Music.
Samuel Adams. We are on Apple Podcast. We are on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and the video version is on YouTube. Cheers to those who love.
Cheers to the people who love us, the losers who have lost us, and the lucky bastards who get to meet us.
I love that. Is that Irish?
I don't know, but I like it too.
Cheers.